In 1315, the House of Habsburg set a campaign in motion to restore order across Central Europe. They pushed into the mountains with a force wrapped in heavy armor, knights, war horses, banners flying, and a confidence as heavy as the metal they carried. In their eyes, this was nothing more than a routine act of suppression. No force strong enough to hold them back, no army bold enough to stand in their way. But on the fog-covered slopes of those mountains, there were people who didn't look like an army. No gleaming helmets, no noble titles, no decorated armor, just a deep understanding of the land and a bond that refused to break. Then the moment came. A single cry cut through the air. Rocks and earth broke loose from the hillside. Massive stones crashed into the compressed column. Logs tumbled downhill, tearing the march apart. Horses flew into panic, rearing up in terror. The formation fell apart in seconds. Knights were torn from their saddles, their heavy armor pinning them flat against the ground. Screams were drowned out by the crash of metal. What was supposed to be a show of intimidation became a battlefield of chaos, in a way no one had seen coming. And in just a few hours, an army believed to be unstoppable was shattered among the mountains. This was Morgarten. To understand Morgarten, you first need to understand one simple question. Who believes they own the land, and who refuses to accept that belief? This story takes place in what is now central Switzerland. In 1315, this area is not a country. It is a rugged mountain region made up of narrow valleys, thick forests, and dangerous alpine passes. Three of those valleys sit at the heart of this story: Uri, Schwyz, and Unterwalden. Today they are part of Switzerland. In the early 1300s they are small rural communities. These valleys might look poor at first glance. Few towns, no great castles, no wealthy courts, but their location makes them valuable. They sit on routes that cross the Alps. Anyone moving goods, armies, or money through the mountains has to pass near them. Control the roads and you control trade. Control the courts and you control daily life for generations. Uri, Schwyz, and Unterwalden have governed themselves. They choose their own judges. They manage their own roads and tolls. They answer directly to the Holy Roman Emperor, not to nearby nobles. And this is the key point. By tradition and by imperial law, they are not supposed to belong to any regional lord. But nearby, a powerful noble family does not accept this situation. The House of Habsburg controls vast territories in what is now Austria and the surrounding regions. They are wealthy, well-connected, and militarily respected. To the Habsburgs, power should be clear and orderly. Lands near their borders should answer to them. Roads should pay tolls to them. Judges should be appointed by them. From their point of view, the mountain valleys are a flaw in the system. They sit within Habsburg influence, but outside Habsburg control. This creates a fundamental conflict. The Habsburgs believe these lands must obey us. We should appoint the judges. We should collect the tolls. The valleys believe we have lived free for generations. No local lord has the right to rule us. At first, the Habsburgs do not attack. They apply pressure. They send officials into the valleys. They challenge decisions made by local courts. They question land ownership and old privileges. Each step seems small. Each step seems legal. But each step tears away a piece of local independence. To the Habsburgs, this is administration. To the valleys, it feels like a slow occupation. The tension builds year after year. The situation finally erupts when a dispute breaks out involving Schwyz and the Abbey of Einsiedeln, a powerful religious institution backed by Habsburg interests. The dispute revolves around land and legal authority. On paper, it looks like a local disagreement. In truth, it is about who holds the right to govern. This dispute gives the Habsburgs what they need: a public excuse. They declare the mountain communities outlaws, disobedient, a threat to order and stability. With that accusation, military action becomes acceptable. The man chosen to enforce Habsburg authority is Duke Leopold I of Austria. Leopold does not prepare for negotiation. He prepares for intimidation. He assembles an army designed to impress before it even fights. Knights in full armor, well-trained support troops, banners in the air, armor gleaming. This is a force built to look unbeatable, a force meant to remind everyone who holds real power. Leopold's plan is straightforward and confident. March through the mountain routes, enter the valleys, break resistance before it fully takes shape. He does not expect a battle, he expects surrender. But the valleys understand something Leopold does not grasp. If Habsburg control is imposed, their self-rule ends forever. Their judges will be replaced. Their decisions over the land will be stripped away. Their communities will become subjects. So Uri, Schwyz and Unterwalden do not prepare for negotiation either. They prepare to defend themselves. They know they cannot beat knights on open ground. They know they cannot match armor against armor, but they know the mountains. They know where the roads narrow. They know where horses lose their strength. They know where a marching column becomes exposed. As Leopold's army gets ready to move, the valleys get ready to choose the battlefield. They are not planning to win glory. They are planning to survive, and that quiet decision, made high in the mountains, leads straight to Morgarten. The campaign begins with movement. At first light, the Habsburg army starts its march. It is a large force by the standards of the time. Several thousand men, a corps of armored knights, hundreds of horses, foot soldiers, attendants, and support troops stretching the column far along the road. At the front rides Duke Leopold III of Austria. From where he sits, the march looks impressive. Banners are raised high. Armor catches the morning light. The sound of metal, hooves and voices fills the valley. This is not an army trying to hide. It is an army meant to be seen. Leopold's intention is clear. Show strength, move fast. Arrive as a force. No one would dare resist. The column advances in marching order, not battle order. Knights and mounted men lead the way. Foot soldiers follow in long lines. Supply wagons and camp gear trail behind. The formation is powerful but stretched out. Long, heavy, hard to turn once in motion, and no one seems worried. From Leopold's perspective, there is no enemy army to face. Only mountain communities that will submit the moment this force appears. As the Habsburg army pushes deeper into the highlands, another preparation is already underway. High above the roads, out of sight, the defenders are gathering. The men of Uri, Schwyz and Unterwalden come together before the Habsburg column even reaches them. They do not gather in a single mass. They move in small groups, quietly, using forest trails and slopes they have known since childhood. They are led by local commanders chosen for experience, not for rank. Men who understand one crucial fact: they cannot defeat this army by meeting it head-on. So their plan is built around a single idea: don't fight the army, break the march. Days before the Habsburg movement begins, these commanders study the routes. They walk the paths, they watch how wagons move. They notice where horses slow down on rough ground. They look for one thing above all else: a place where the army will be forced to compress. They find it along a narrow mountain route near Lake Egery. Here the road is trapped between water and rising terrain. Here a wide formation becomes impossible. Here a long column cannot turn or reposition quickly. Once this spot is chosen, the preparation becomes precise. The ambush force is split into clear roles. At the highest points above the road, strong men ready heavy objects. Large stones are loosened. Logs are set so gravity will carry them downhill. These men are told to wait, not to fight. Below them, closer to the road, fighters with long weapons take their positions. Halberds, spears, hooks. Their job is not to charge, but to drag riders down, to stop forward movement, and to keep fallen men from getting back on their feet. Further along the slope, reserve groups wait. Their task is to seal the corridor once the attack starts, to block escape, to prevent any regrouping. Every man knows where to stand. Every man knows when to act. No one moves without the signal. Timing matters more than numbers. The plan is simple but merciless. Let the Habsburg army enter the narrow stretch. Let the front push ahead. Let the center compress under its own weight. Only when the column is fully committed, when falling back creates as much danger as pressing forward, will the attack begin. Down below, the Habsburg army keeps marching. The sound of hooves echoes through the valley. Armor clinks, banners sway. Leopold sees only progress, only momentum. Above him, the defenders wait. They are not nervous. They are not rushing. They know that once the signal is given, the strength of the Habsburg army will turn against itself, and the mountain will settle the rest. Late in the morning, the Habsburg army reaches the most dangerous stretch of the route. The road now runs tight between the lake and the mountainside. There is no open space, no field to deploy on, just a narrow passage that forces the entire army into a single line of movement. The column does not stop. At the front rides Duke Leopold I of Austria. He sees the road narrowing, but he does not slow the march. To him, this is difficult terrain, not hostile ground. The army keeps moving forward exactly as planned. At the tightest points, the knights are squeezed down to 1 or 2 across. Behind them, infantry, mounted attendants and supply troops pile in close. The column stretches far to the rear, but here near the lake it grows thick and heavy. Men stand close enough to touch one another. Horses step carefully, heads low. Armor scrapes against armor. The sound of movement fills the passage, hooves on stone. Metal shifting, orders spoken calmly, without urgency. Still no sign of an enemy. This is the final condition the defenders have been waiting for. Above the road, the ambush force watches in silence. They see the front of the column pass through the narrow stretch. They see the center slide into position. They see the rear keep feeding men forward, building the pressure. The entire Habsburg army is now locked into the terrain. Only then does the attack begin. The first blow comes from above. Several large rocks are released at once. They fall, bounce, and shatter as they hit the road. One slams into the horses at the front. Another crashes among the infantry just behind. A horse drops sideways. Its body blocks the passage completely. Movement stops at the front, but the men behind don't know it yet. They keep pushing forward, following the rhythm of the march. Within seconds, the center of the column crushes together violently. Shouts rise, not commands, but questions. Before the officers can make sense of what's happening, the second wave hits. Heavy logs roll down the slope, picking up speed as they fall. They strike shields, knock men off balance, and throw horses into panic. Several horses rear up and crash into each other. One goes down, then another. The road is now choked. At that moment, the defenders move in. They don't rush all at once. They come down in small, coordinated groups. Their targets are clear. They hit the horses first. They pull riders sideways with hooks and halberds. They strike at legs, not at armor. A knight is ripped from his saddle and slams onto the stone road. In heavy armor, he cannot get up. Another rider loses control when his horse is struck. The animal falls, crushing men underneath. Every fallen body becomes an obstacle. Every obstacle tightens the trap. Inside the column, panic spreads fast. The men at the front can't move forward. The men at the rear keep pushing, not knowing the road is blocked. Those in the center are crushed between both sides. Commands are shouted, but they break apart in the noise. The sound of battle echoes violently between water and stone. It's impossible to tell where the danger is coming from. Knights try to turn their horses. There's no room. Infantry tries to pull back. They're shoved forward by pressure from behind. The army loses its shape. What was once an organized column becomes a string of isolated struggles. Some men try to scramble up the slope, slipping on loose dirt and roots. Others are forced toward the lake. In heavy armor, balance is fragile. One wrong step is all it takes. Several soldiers fall into the water. The weight of their gear drags them under almost instantly. The sight is terrifying. Now the panic becomes total. Men throw down their shields, some cut their weapons loose. Anything that might slow them down is dropped. The defenders don't chase wildly, they stay close. They keep pressure on the trapped sections of the road. Their goal is not slaughter, it is collapse. Within minutes, the Habsburg army is no longer fighting as an army. It is a mass of individuals reacting to fear, noise, and pressure. By the time Leopold realizes this is a coordinated ambush and not some local disturbance, the damage is already done. The terrain has done its work. The march has been destroyed, and Morgarten has gone from a display of power to a fight for survival. Once the formation breaks, there is no way to put it back together. What remains of the Habsburg army is scattered along the road in disconnected clusters. Some are still fighting, most are no longer thinking about battle, they are thinking about getting out. The narrow passage offers no clear direction. The way forward is blocked, the slope is unstable, the lake is deadly. Men start moving without orders. Some try to climb the hill, dragging themselves through trees and loose ground. They slip, they fall. Those in heavy armor can't climb fast enough. Others turn back down the road, forcing their way through wounded men and fallen horses. Shields are abandoned, weapons are tossed aside. Anything that slows them down gets left behind. The retreat doesn't happen all at once. It spreads unevenly, starting from the center of the column and pushing outward. Officers try to take back control. They shout orders. They try to pull small groups together, but the terrain defeats them. There is no space to regroup, no open ground to form ranks, no clear line of sight. Fear moves faster than authority. As the pressure eases in some sections, survivors begin pulling away from the pass. They don't stop to check who's following. They don't wait for orders. They run until the sound of combat fades behind them. Near the front of the column, Duke Leopold I of Austria finally grasps the full scale of the disaster. This is not a setback. This is not a temporary disruption. The army cannot go on. It cannot turn things around. Staying in the pass will only mean more losses. The decision to withdraw is made out of necessity, not strategy. Signals are sent where possible. Messengers try to spread the word, but the retreat is already happening. What follows is not an organized withdrawal. It is a slow, painful extraction of what's left of the force. Only after the army clears the narrow ground does it begin to piece itself back together in fragments. Small groups gather. The wounded are carried or left behind. The scale of the losses becomes visible. Armor lies abandoned on the road. Broken weapons litter the path. The surface of the lake is disturbed where men and horses disappeared. By early afternoon, the fighting has stopped. The mountain is quiet again. The defenders do not pursue. They stay on the high ground, watching the survivors pull back from the valleys. They do not chase glory. They do not seek more bloodshed. Their goal has already been reached. The Habsburg army has been driven out. Morgarten does not end with a final charge or a dramatic last stand. It ends with silence. A silence broken only by the certainty that a powerful army has been beaten. Not by strength alone, but by preparation, terrain, and perfect timing. The battle at Morgarten ends within hours, but its impact lasts far longer. News travels fast across the Holy Roman Empire. A powerful Habsburg force led by armored knights has been defeated by mountain communities. This result sends shockwaves through Europe. For centuries, heavy cavalry has been seen as unstoppable. Knights stand for power, order, and authority. At Morgarten, that belief crumbles. The defeat is not caused by lack of skill or bad fortune. It is caused by the terrain, the preparation, and the timing. Armor becomes a burden. Numbers become pressure. Movement becomes impossible. For the Habsburgs, the campaign is a failure. Their authority in the mountain regions is weakened. Any future expansion will need to be reconsidered. For Uri, Schwyz, and Unterwalden, the result is decisive. They have defended their independence, not through negotiation, but through coordinated action and discipline. In the years that follow, these communities strengthen their alliance. They commit to mutual defense. They protect the mountain routes together. What starts as local resistance becomes the foundation of a confederation. Morgarten is remembered not for its scale, but for what it proves. That power built on intimidation alone can fail. That preparation can overcome prestige, and that the landscape itself can decide history. The battlefield returns to silence. The road is used again. The lake grows calm, but the lesson remains. Morgarten is not the story of heroic charges. It is the story of knowing where to stand, when to wait, and when to strike, and that is why it still matters.